Well, if you are minivan shopping, then no doubt the Toyota Sienna is on your list of vehicles to check out. And after 6 months and 8,000 miles of owning this 2025 Toyota Sienna XLE, I want to give you my thoughts. I'll tell you what we like about the van and some things that are maybe not so great. And having just returned from a 9-hour vacation with our children in this van, I've had a lot of time to think about what are some pros and cons of owning the Toyota Sienna. And we've got some very impressive miles per gallon number. Wait till you hear those. And there's about 2 things that made me ask, what in the world was Toyota thinking when they redesigned their Sienna for the hybrid version? And then once we get to the end, I will tell you whether I would want my money back if I could and would rather have a different vehicle for hauling our family around in this 8-passenger Toyota Sienna. Now this is the XLE version of the Sienna, which is just one notch above the base, starting at the LE, but there's a lot of good features here in the XLE. I'll go over a bunch of those. Now we did also shop the Honda Odyssey, went for a test drive in the 2025, and for about the same price, XLE Sienna is gonna be right around $47,000. You can get a sport version of the 25 Odyssey, which actually has a few more bells and whistles. So we were tempted on that, but ultimately it came down to this being a hybrid. So those gas mileage numbers will be about 50% better. And then also I've owned a couple of Toyotas and had really good results, but no knock on Honda. I think they have a lot going for them as well. But in the 25 version of the Odyssey and the Sienna actually had a little bit more up front in terms of technology. I'll go over a few of those things, and that's ultimately why we chose to go with the Sienna. And of course, the Honda Odyssey Sport, it actually comes with paddle shifters, which had me wondering, if you want paddle shifters in the car, why are you buying a minivan? But hey, if that's you, you do you. So let's hop in here. We'll talk about the driving experience on this Sienna. All right, it's hot in the south. Let's turn this bad boy on. Get some air conditioning rolling here. One of the first important questions that you're asking when you're shopping for a car, okay, we are beeping. Okay, we're done beeping. Would be, how does it drive? And the answer to that question is, this vehicle drives really well. Very happy with how it drives, especially after coming back from that 9-hour road trip. There's really a lot to like. It is a very smooth vehicle, drives really nice. In the driver's seat, it is very comfortable. My kids sitting in the back in this middle row, which they really like. All 3 of them, they sit 3 across. We'll go over that middle row here in a bit. They also say it is very comfortable. It handles really well. I'm impressed with the turning radius, getting in and out of parking lots. But all that said, this is not a race car. You're not going to be impressed with this being a really powerful vehicle, and that comes with the 4-cylinder internal combustion engine combined with that hybrid system. To me, it is more than enough power for what it is. It's a minivan. This is for taking our kids to soccer practice. You can put 8 people in here. It is not a sports car. It is not going to peel out. It's not going to knock your head back with acceleration. But that said, recently, merging onto the interstate, I did have to floor it, and I had more than enough power to get up to speed and to merge into traffic. But now let's get in and talk about what kind of fuel economy can you expect in this Toyota Sienna hybrid, and that is where it really shines. Now, the EPA estimates that you will get 36 miles per gallon in town and 36 miles per gallon on the highway, and so far we are, let's see, looking at my dashboard here, for the last 7,000 miles, we are averaging 37.5. Now that is a combination of driving around town and then also on the highway. So really, this vehicle does really well. A couple caveats on that. We leave it in eco mode. So that is the lowest, that's the most efficient mode you can put it in. It also has a normal mode and it has a sport mode. Both of those are going to make it drive a little bit faster, but again, this is not a sports car. We tend to leave it in eco mode. It tries to coax you to drive really slow, but the fuel economy numbers are great. Now, how much money can you expect to save by going with a hybrid van versus a regular van? Well, as I'm crunching the numbers, it's going to be about 50% gas savings. So if you drive 12,000 miles a year, you're going to save somewhere around $800 to $900 with gas right now about $3.20 and a national average per gallon. So $800 to $900 a year, that's nice. That's certainly probably not going to justify you going out and spending $50,000 on a brand new car, but it is nice if you're going to compare the hybrid van versus a V6 van, say in that Odyssey. Now, the hybrid system does have some neat features, and one of the things that's happening right now is I'm idling in the driveway, but that internal combustion engine is not on. It is running in electric mode, so it can be really quiet. So when you hit a situation where you run into traffic, so I drove through Atlanta recently, unfortunately, which is never ideal, drove through Atlanta recently and sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, it will switch into EV mode. That gas engine will turn off and you will be whisper quiet and you can just kind of glide along. So when you hit traffic, your fuel economy numbers really don't go down. They stay about the same, which is really impressive. So let's talk about the interior design of the Toyota Sienna. They've got some interesting design choices that they've made. First of all, what people comment about is this bridge design in between the front two seats. It is a little funky. I would say overall we like it. It gives you a giant storage space here underneath. But if you like to hop back and forth from the driver's seat to the passenger seat, you really can't do that. This is a little bit very much in the way, but you do get an actual shift knob, whereas, for example, in Honda Odyssey, they've got the little turn dial for their shifter. We've got quite a few cup holders, more on the cup holders here in a little bit. And you've got this giant crevasse of storage right here and an interesting shelf that they built right across the middle. And you can put stuff on there. It will slide around a little bit. You've got your wireless phone charger right here. You can put your phone on there. It does a pretty good job of charging. It's not going to charge your phone very quickly. And in the XLE, we've got 4 zones for your air conditioning. Technically a 5th because that 3rd row functions as that 5th row. So even in the middle row, your 2 passengers can choose what temperature they want to be. And up front, the driver and the passenger can choose their own temperature. So that is really nice. You can, from the front, turn the rear off. I would say, in general, this works really well. It takes a little bit of getting used to. So then I would say here in the front seat as the driver, I feel like I'm swimming in space. It is very spacious. I've got plenty of headroom up here. I'm 5'10", and I've got plenty of space there. The seat is power adjustable, both on the driver's seat and in the passenger seat. You've got a lot of room. We feel like we're swimming in space up here, so that is really nice. And as we talk about the 25 Sienna, one of the things that they did in the 25 versus the 24 on the XLE, they went with a 12-inch display. And I would say in general, this display and the system works very well. Now, like I said, Honda's was lagging a little bit compared to what Toyota had on the 25 year, which is one of the reasons we went with this. It does work very well. You can give your vehicle information. You've got all your music. It's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, I don't have my phone connected right now, so it's not giving me that option. We've also got built-in navigation on the XLE, which is basically using Google Maps. Now, you do have to pay for that after the first year if you want to continue to get updates. So I would say most people are probably just going to use their phone, use that CarPlay or Android Auto for navigation. Next thing we got to talk about when it comes to features, let's turn the car off here for this one. Okay, so I've got the key in my pocket. Now the XLE does come with hands-free opening. You see this little Wi-Fi symbol right there. When the key is in your pocket, you do a little swipey here with your foot. You hear the beep, and then the door will open. Now, this is really nice when you've got your hands full. So if you've got kids in the car seat and you want to be, you're carrying one kid in the car seat, maybe you have a bag of groceries and you want to do wireless opening, we can also do that. Back here on the hatch, takes a little getting used to, but, and yes, I did cover my my license plate with a towel, so it's kind of beeping at me there. There we go. So now it's going to go ahead and open wireless. Now that's a pretty nice feature. Now onto this middle row, you see this little track they've got here. This middle row has a lot of slide. It will slide. This is the farthest back position. So for my 3 kids sitting in the middle row, they have a ton of space. We can have 3 kids sitting across the middle and our dog laying in the front. Now, I did opt for buying seat covers. I can link to those in the description. We just want to protect the seats, especially if you put car seats on, you know they kind of whoop your seats over time. Or for us, we've got a dog, so we got car seat covers that match the same color. They just cover the bottom here, and overall those do pretty well. But our kids have a ton of space with this slid all the way back. Now, if you put this all the way back and then you put that 3rd row up, let's go demonstrate that. It is pretty easy to slide that up and down. Okay, so there's our 3rd row. Let's hop back there. With the seat all the way back, that is not a lot of leg room. So you can move that middle row. You can slide that up a little bit to get some more space. Now, this version does have that 8-passenger, which is available on XLE. There's some unique things with purchasing the 25 Sienna. If you get all-wheel drive, can't get the 8-passenger seat. If you get the Platinum, which is the top-of-the-line version, that sucker's like 60 grand. Can't get that 8th row seat. They have really swanky captain's chairs with like a kick-out recliner type thing down here. So can't get that 8th passenger. Now, this 8th seat does very easily fold in and out. You can take that out, and when we're on the topics of this 8-seat, it is pretty small. That's probably for children. Now, my 9-year-old, she prefers that seat, so even when she's the only one back here, she wants to sit there. She buckles up. She likes having a real good view out the front. She has not complained about it at all, but I think adults are not going to love sitting in that middle row if you have to. Now, let's get back in the front here. We're going to talk about some safety features that are worth their weight in gold on the 25 Sienna. If you are looking for a newer vehicle, there are some safety features that are available. Now, we came from a 2010 Toyota Sienna, which had none of these electronic safety features that are now available. And here's a few that I think are worth their weight in gold. So first of all, we have got parking sensors front and rear. So if I put it in reverse, we are going to end up with our rear backup camera here. And then it's got three sensors on, it's got sensors on the back, each corner, and then sensors on the front. If I'm approaching anything or backing up toward anything, it's going to give me red lines and start beeping at me. And what's interesting is the audio warning actually comes from the corner of the vehicle that obstruction is visible. So if you have something in that back corner, that back speaker is going to start beeping, and the beeping is going to get louder and faster the closer you get to that item. So having parking sensors like that should help you or your wife and prevent you to not back into something or run somebody over. The next one is adaptive cruise control. We'll go back and park here. If you haven't played with adaptive cruise control yet, that is where you have radar assisted cruise. It's watching the vehicle in front of you, and it is going to maintain a safe distance from that vehicle. So we've got our little symbol right here. This is the distance to that vehicle, and you have multiple settings. It is going to default to the farthest setting, which is a pretty far distance, which is not going to work in traffic situations. So you can adjust that here and choose how close you want to follow that vehicle. And it will also have emergency braking with that adaptive cruise control. If you're not paying attention and that person slams on the brake, then the car will actually brake for you until you are ready to brake. And the other safety feature with that adaptive cruise that I really like is low speed follow. So I mentioned I drove through Atlanta recently, and with low speed follow, you've got that adaptive cruise on. You don't have to have your foot on the gas or the brake. It's going to follow that car in front of you, and it will follow that car even if they come to a complete stop. The vehicle will stop for you, maintaining that safe distance, and then when that vehicle begins to go, all you have to do is hit the resume button and your vehicle will begin to follow them even at low speed. Now I have a Honda, 2016 Honda that also has adaptive cruise, but it will kick off under 30 miles per hour. So a lot of cars don't have that low speed follow option. I think that is really helpful. The other thing you have is lane centering. The vehicle will actually try to find the center of that lane, and it'll try to stay right in the center. Now you do have to keep your hands on the wheel. It is going to beep at you. This feature I find to be more annoying than helpful most of the time. There are times when it does a really good job and is able to find those two lines and keep the vehicle perfectly centered. But honestly, a lot of times it's bouncing back and forth. I feel like I'm fighting the wheel a little bit, and that's been my wife's experience as well. And the other thing that's interesting, like when I was driving in Florida for our vacation and you're going on these long, straight as can be stretches, and the vehicle is centering itself and you've got your hand on the wheel, it's going to beep at me after 5 or 10 seconds because it thinks I'm not holding the wheel, and you have to give it a little jiggle. That's kind of annoying. You'd think on a straight stretch, it should be able to somehow sense that your hand is on the wheel. A lot of times I'll just kind of rest my hand up on the top of the steering wheel so that it knows, hey, I'm still holding the wheel. You do have to still pay attention. You do have to still drive. And the last safety feature that I think is worth its weight in gold, this one might be my favorite, and it's already saved us from having a few fender benders, or at least some close calls, and that is going to be the rear cross traffic alert. When you are backing out of a parking spot, or in my instance, we're backing out of our driveway, the vehicle has sensors. It's going to watch if there is any traffic coming from either side, and it is going to see this traffic coming before you are able to. So as I'm backing up my driveway, it'll start beeping to me saying, hey, someone's coming down this road. Now, obviously, I need to stop at the end of my driveway. I need to look, but it is an amazing feature that it is seeing those things before I do, especially if you're backing out of a tight parking spot and you don't even have an angle to see if there's a large vehicle next to you, if there's something coming crosswise. This vehicle has already stopped us from getting close to a fender bender, where it has actually stopped the car for us when we were backing up because there was something back there that we could not see. But when we are talking about the available safety features on the Sienna, we've got to talk about the fact that it's a little bit disappointing that in the 25 Sienna, Toyota has Safety Sense 2.0, not their 3.5, which is actually available on some of their models. Now, I just drove a 25 Corolla that was a rental that had Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, and especially on the lane centering feature, it seemed to be much more effective than my 25 Sienna is. In fact, with the 25 Sienna, I'm often turning that lane centering feature off when I put on my adaptive cruise control. You do have that option. So it's a little bit disappointing that Toyota does not have Safety Sense 3.5 or 3.0, but the 25 Sienna has that 2.0. All right, you ready for some things that I don't like? Now, there are a few minor complaints. Let's start up here in the front. These cup holders, especially this one, are tiny. Like, what are these for? Like, there's very few cups that will actually fit in here. These are a little bit better, but I'm not kidding when I tell you my 2010 Toyota Sienna had a cup holder in the front big enough for a full-size Nalgene. That's definitely not fitting here. You might need to get one of those adapters where you put it in if you have a really big cup. So that's a minor frustration. And then the other thing that for a lot of people is a deal breaker, that is that this middle row does not come out without tools. So you cannot easily remove the middle row with the exception of that 8th seat. So if you're the type of person that wants to take that middle row out, maybe you want to put a 4x8 sheet of plywood, can't do that without some tools. Now, I have not taken the time to try to do that, but when I was purchasing this, that was a challenge, but I thought about the 12 years we owned our 2010 Sienna and realized I had only taken that middle row out maybe twice. So it's not something I was doing all the time anyway. But if you're doing a lot of cargo carrying, if you want to go get large pieces of lumber from Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, that can be something that can be annoying. Speaking of that middle row, let's go back there and look at it. Push this button and it will open. Okay, speaking of the middle row, I find it to be slightly difficult to slide all the way forward if you want to get people on the back, in the back. Now, it is a two-step process. We got this little lever here. The seat will come forward, okay? Now I got to press this and pull. Now I'm slightly downhill here, so this will be a little bit easier. All right, so I did that with one hand, but get this out of the way. Seatbelt. Seatbelt, seatbelt. Okay, so that's, there we go. We're all the way forward, so now the kids can climb into the back. I find that to be difficult. In fact, when my kids try to do it to let their friends in the back row or something like that, they have trouble. I often have to come back. Now, that was also true in our 2010 Sienna. I was kind of hoping in this 25 it would be an easier process, but part of that is this row is big, it is heavy. Ugh, it takes a lot of oomph even to get it back. I probably can't even do it with one hand. Okay, okay. Yeah, so it takes a lot of, it's really not a one-handed job. Takes a lot of oomph. Now, it's even harder on this side because that middle row, the middle seat comes with it. Might be a little bit easier over there to do just one seat. So what's the final verdict here of the 25 Sienna? If I could flip a magic wand and go back and get all my money back and choose a different vehicle, would I do that? Well, no, I would not. We're really happy with this vehicle. The kids like it. They say it's comfortable. It was great on our 9-hour road trip. It drives really well. Love the features. There are a few things that you can step up a notch if you want to get like the Platinum model has a few more features. We think this vehicle is great. We would definitely buy it again. So as you're van shopping, let me know in the comments, what is important to you? What are you really looking for in a vehicle? And if you want to see more of a test drive video, I will link to my first impressions video where I actually drove the car around and kind of gave some thoughts on those various features. Well, this is Jason for Poodle Dad. Thumbs up if this has been helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will catch you in the next one.